the unreachable star.
Wow. Welcome to the presence of greatness, everyone. Oh, my goodness. That was Brian Stokes Mitchell performing The Impossible Dream from La Man of La Mancha during the Broadway with Love. It was a benefit concert for Orlando in 2016. And there is a great event benefiting the USO San Diego. Joining us this morning to tell us about the Stars and Stripes Gala is his upcoming performance in it. Two-time Tony Award winner Brian Stokes Mitchell. You go by Stokes.
I go by Stokes
it's
to
easier.
my friends, yes. So
Stokes.
We're friends here.
We are so honored to have you here.
Jason, thank you so much. It's great to be back here at KUSI.
How did you learn to do that? Where did you get the voice?
Practice, you know. Well, I got the voice from my father. He wasn't a singer, but he had a beautiful speaking voice, this beautiful baritone voice. And then I just started studying singing down here with a lot of different teachers in San Diego, because I really started my theater career down here at the Globe and at Starlight Opera and pretty much every theater that existed at that time when I was down here, and just kept working on it. And
because you are a local guy. You went to Patrick Henry High School,
I
right?
did, yeah. In Pershing Junior High, when we first moved back, my dad worked for the Navy, so I was raised all over the place. But this is kind of where it feels like this is where my theater roots are.
How often do you get back to San Diego?
Not often enough, and I can't tell you, I was so excited coming in just driving from the airport to the hotel. The ocean, the air, it's so beautiful. The weather here, we're having this crazy weather in New York right now where I live. It was like 45 degrees one day, and the next day it was like 92 degrees.
Right.
You know, it's like living in the mind of a teenager, you know. You don't know where you are, and it's kind of all over the place. So.
Talk to us real quickly about, because I'm curious, talk about your journey from going to Patrick Henry High School to Broadway, where you won a Tony Award as Best Actor. You've won two, but one was for Best Actor.
Yes, yeah, for Kiss Me Kate, that was for. You know, it's funny, interesting, because when I did Kiss Me Kate, that was, of course, based on Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. And I realized when I was doing that show, the very first scene that I ever did was in Kathleen Lund's 9th grade drama class at Pershing Junior High School, the first class that I'd ever taken. And the first scene was, "Good morrow, Kate, for that's your name, I hear," which was from Taming of the Shrew. And there I had that realization when I was watching a bunch of kids perform on the stage, because they had kind of a festival there when I was doing Taming of the Shrew. And one kid came out and did that scene, and I went, wait, that's the first scene that I ever did. Wow. And I had just won the Tony Award for it like two weeks before that. I mean, occasionally mind-blowing things happen in your life, and that was one of those things.
It makes me wonder if Ms. Lund is watching right now.
From somewhere she is. She's passed on, so hopefully she is, because she's a part of my theatrical career.
Wow, and so now you're back in San Diego, and let's talk about this USO Gala that you're going to be doing, which is, I want to say it's emceed by Mark Larson from 760 KFMB, a good friend of our show here at KUSI.
Yeah.
What are you going to be performing?
I'm going to be performing a number of songs. I'm going to be doing about 6, 7 songs tonight, you know, kind of bringing some music to the proceedings. The USO has been a huge part of my life, actually, having been raised overseas. The very first musical I ever saw was a USO production that came overseas at the Station Theater in Subic Bay in the Philippines.
Wow.
It was a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum. My parents met at the USO, so I probably wouldn't even be here. My father was a Tuskegee Airman, and my mother was going to college nearby. They kind of got together at a dance.
That's noteworthy. I want to show this. This is your mom and dad, right?
Yes, that's their wedding picture, as a matter of fact.
Your dad, and he was a member of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yes, he taught radio code there and signal code. And I had a really interesting trip. I was performing in Opelika, Alabama a few years ago, and they said, you know, this is only a half an hour from Tuskegee. That's him as a serviceman there.
Wow, look at that.
Only a half an hour from Tuskegee. And they said, you should go there. And I went down to Moton Field. That's him on his ham radio equipment, because he was a ham radio operator all his entire life. He passed away about 4 years ago. And I went and actually visited the field where he taught, and where he told me all of these stories of dancing with Lena Horne and all these crazy stories with the pilots and flying in the planes with them. And it was really incredible. And now it's an incredible museum. And that's when they received the Congressional Medal of Honor, the Tuskegee Airmen. So I was able to join him in Washington.
That's your dad?
D.C. That's my dad.
Getting a Congressional Medal of Honor?
Yeah, all the Tuskegee Airmen got one. This was about 8 years ago, I think.
So were you a ham radio operator growing up with your dad?
I was not. He tried to teach radio code, but I never, you know, I liked it, and I still remember a lot of it, but I didn't really get into it like he did. Yeah,
wow.
He kept trying to get us to do it, but I listened to him all the time, and sometimes I would get on and we would talk, you know, CQ, and I remember listening to Sputnik and different satellites, because the signals would come over.
Wow.
And he would communicate a lot of times with people in the United States because back then the phones weren't so reliable.
That's so good. Well, you mentioned USO is so near and dear to your heart. Interesting, USO is chartered by Congress, but doesn't take any money from the government. It's relied on by donation from people basically in general.
Yeah.
And that's what this gala is all about.
Exactly. It's to raise money. It's for the San Diego. It serves about 250,000 people a year, I believe. This is the largest group of active military in the world here, and if that doesn't even include all of the people retired. So it's a perfect place to do this. But they really lift the spirits. I've actually done two USO tours myself in Oman and Middle East, and I went actually back to the Station Theater in Subic Bay.
No
it was
kidding.
the last one that I did. Yeah. So it's a pretty amazing organization, and I'm so happy. I think it was Roosevelt started it.
Okay, and in the short time we have left, what do you have planned as far as your performance? Can you give us a little hint?
You know what? I'm going to sing some of my favorite patriotic songs. I want to sing songs that are going to honor the men and the women that are there, that are serving in our military, and make them feel joyful and appreciated, and just let them know how grateful we all are for their service.
Okay. But Brian Stokes Mitchell, man, what a pleasure to have you.
Thanks,
what a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming back to San Diego and supporting our USO and our troops.
It's always a joy. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. Wow.